Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm Tucker Hazel. That is Tanner Extra, and today we are here to talk about the 2022 Oscars nominations and our thoughts on them. But we want to hear your thoughts about the Oscars nominations or anything else at all. And to do that, you can share them in the comments, of course, but also on our Discord server, which has a link in the description. We've got specifically an Oscars-focused channel for you to post all your nerdy Oscar goodness. And also, you can subscribe to Backlog Banter because we are covering the Oscars 6 ways from Sunday. Extensively. We're going to be reviewing every single Best Picture nominee on our series, The Quest for the Bestest, which you should be watching, as well as doing our predictions and probably a post-Oscars breakdown. So Oscars nonsense coming everywhere on Backlog Banter for the next month and a half. But Tanner, thank you for joining me. It's been a while, you and me together. Without Abram, the dream team, as some have been calling us.
We're back. We're back, and we're ready to deal with some business, some Oscars nomination business.
Some business, yes. We're gonna start off where good old Tracy Ellis and Leslie Jordan started off at 7:18 this morning.
I'd say that we're probably a better power duo than those two. I'm gonna venture to say.
Well, Leslie Jordan had a funny hat.
That's true.
And he also mispronounced Denis Villeneuve's name.
Denis Villeneuve. I think in remembrance of Leslie Jordan, a man who is not dead, we should say it the same way. Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah. But starting off, I would like to get our thoughts on actress in a supporting role. Nominees are Jessie Buckley, Ariana DeBose, Judy Dench, Kirsten Dunst, and Anjanou Ellis.
Yeah, so this is there are some snubs in this category that I'd like to address first.
I'd say this is one of the bigger snub categories.
I agree. I think there are two for sure big ones.
For one main reason.
Katerina Balfe, I believe, is how you pronounce her name. Katerina, we're sorry. We're just like Leslie Jordan over here at Backlog Banter.
Oh, yeah.
But for Belfast. The mother in Belfast. Instead got swapped out for another mother in Belfast.
Yeah, the grandmother.
Being Dame Judi Dench.
Dench.
Who I feel is not very deserving of a nomination.
If we're certainly agree.
If we're swapping one for the other, should have been Balfe, quite honestly. I think she had a lot more to do in this film. And with that, she had a lot more to convey emotionally, and I think she did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
In that supporting role. Jamie Dornan was also snubbed for
we'll get
Belfast,
to,
as we'll get to.
Actor.
And I think those roles are really important when you're centering around a child actor like Jude Hill. That is the child actor in Belfast's name. And yeah, I think that her and Jamie Dornan both do a great job, but neither of them were recognized for their good work. Instead, we got Judi Dench.
We got Judi Dench, who's kind of just a bump on the log in this movie. She's totally serviceable as the heartwarming grandma character, but that is kind of it. And this feels more like hey, we know Judi Dench. Judi Dench has won some awards. She's in a movie this year. She's solid in it. Let's she's waning in her years. Let's give her one final kick in the pants. But it's a really unfortunate one because I like Belfast a lot. I think it's a solid nominee for Best Picture and the things it's nominated in. Katerina Balfe is probably my favorite performance in that film, frankly.
I agree. Me too.
But yeah, the swap there is kind of nasty. But the other swap is not necessarily a bad one, but I can't speak authoritatively to this. But Jessie Buckley being nominated for The Lost Daughter over Ruth Negga from Passing, which I have not seen either of these films. So I can't speak authoritatively towards it, but Jessie Buckley was certainly a surprise.
Yeah, she was for sure. I have seen both of these, and of the two, I would definitely take Ruth Negga. I think that there's a lot more nuance. Well, I say there's a lot more nuance, but Lost Daughter is a very nuanced film. It's a lot about our main character. I forget her name because
I don't know the story of Lost Daughter at all.
I don't even know. Actually, I think it might be one of those movies where the protagonist is not named. I don't really remember because Lost Daughter did not make much of an impact with me, and neither did Olivia Coleman nor Jessie Buckley's performances, where the opposite was the case for Ruth Negga in Passing. So I would certainly swap that out again.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see Jessie Buckley get nominated. She's an up and comer in Hollywood right now. She started her career out just a few years ago, really, with like Chernobyl was I think the real big thing that she was in,
Yeah,
and obviously
TV. That sucks. I'm sorry for her.
I'm thinking of Ending Things was a big Netflix hit that was not nominated for anything at the Oscars really, but I'm glad that she's getting some recognition because she is a good actress.
She's a good actress, and I'm sure I'll enjoy her in this film. And I'm sure this nomination will be, serviceable to me.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, I can't really comment on it. It's definitely a surprise though. And that was the first thing that they announced this entire Oscar season was a surprise, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah. But Tucker, should we do a quick top of our head, fresh off the Oscar nominations just this morning? Should we say who we think is going to win and who we want?
I'm gonna say no for that.
Oh,
because there still are some holes where I haven't seen some of them, and also we have a dedicated Oscars predictions coming up. So I think I'd rather save our discussion on that for that because we got a lot to go through. Next up, we've got costume design. The nominees are Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story. This is a perfectly serviceable category. I think all these films deserve to be in, Cyrano being the one hole that neither of us have seen yet.
Very true.
But yeah, I'm happy with this. No surprises, frankly.
No, for sure. I think Cruella is the runaway well, I think Cruella's the popular choice for this film, but Dune is getting a lot of that. I think it's going to win. So that's interesting. Dune obviously present in a lot of these technical categories.
Yeah,
most
the
of them,
below the line categories.
Yeah.
But the main thing about this is, I think this is a great category. Happy with all of them. No surprises necessarily. The one surprise being that House of Gucci was not nominated at all.
True. Very true.
And I don't have any particular love or hate for House of Gucci. I think it's a totally fine film. It's got very good costume design. That is one of its strong suits. It is about fashion, much like Cruella. So not seeing it here is a surprise. But I don't care, frankly.
Yeah, Tucker, I think there's going to be a resounding motif of this in that we don't really care about House of Gucci because that's not a very good film.
All right, next up, we've got nominations for Best Sound. The nominees are Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Any quick off-the-top thoughts here? Off your dome.
I felt like Tick Tick Boom was something that was maybe that was a lot of people predicting was going to be in this category that ended up not being there. But you have a lot of strong contenders nonetheless. Dune, No Time to Die, West Side Story, obviously being a musical. Power of the Dog. We just watched that for that's coming up on Quest for the Bestest.
Yes.
And pretty solid. Belfast, no complaints there.
The interesting thing about this is the first category out of the three we've talked about where I have seen all the nominees, and I don't have a real horse in this race because I don't care that much about sound. But The Power of the Dog is the one that sticks out the most to me. As what did that movie really do with sound in any particular way? I mean, piano music, environmental noises of wind passing through the mountains and whatever. But I don't really know if I see a nomination for Best Sound, which now is sound editing and sound mixing are now one category, much to the chagrin of Timon Nelson. But I don't really know if this makes sense. I mean, I think I haven't seen Tick Tick Boom, but knowing that it is a musical and does more with sound, I think I would have been happier with that nomination.
Sure. I mean, there's it's hard to say for less sound inclined people like you and I as opposed to Timo Nelson because there is no runaway movie that has sound as its centerpiece like Sound of Metal from last year. There's not one of those this year. So any one of these could win.
The interesting thing to me though is that while there isn't a runaway, I understand the rest of them. West Side Story with how it uses sound in the sound mix for dance and for interpretive things, and of course all of that musical. Belfast because there's explosions and all sorts of different ways that they're masking sound to create the experience of being in a place that is having some fighting and stuff like that. Dune, they had to create a lot of different sound effects, and frankly, even though I'm not a Dune fan, I actually think I would want Dune to win here. And No Time to Die is another thing where they have to create all these sound effects to make a believable sound mix and environment.
One thing I would say, having seen Coda and really, really liked Coda, I wish that would have been in here. Because obviously it centers around a majority deaf cast, and they do some technical sound things
Sure.
with that deaf cast when we are put in their POV. And I think those things are really neat, and I wish they would have been reflected here. But nonetheless,
But
pretty
alas,
solid category.
yeah, it's totally serviceable. I'm not no complaints there. Some good
Yeah.
ones. Next up is nominees for best original score. The nominees are
Hmm.
Don't Look Up, Dune, Encanto, Parallel Mothers, and The Power of the Dog.
Now, Tucker, one of these things is not like the other for me.
Well,
Uh,
I would say three of these things are not like the other because
hmm.
we have three. Well, okay, we have two strange ones here, not because they aren't great scores, but because they aren't the films that are nominated everywhere else. And Kanto and Parallel Mothers are sort of not they're out of their element because they're not in this sort of top 10, top 12 area. And but
Hmm.
I both those movies are very deserving. They both have great scores.
I agree.
But the third out of place is Don't Look Up
Yep.
because what the fuck happened in the score of that movie? I don't know. I have no fucking clue. No earthly
No.
clue.
And quite honestly, I don't care to listen back to it because as we'll get to, I feel like we're gonna be saying this a lot. As we'll get to on Quest for the Bestest. Not big fans of Don't Look Up over here. But don't misconstrue that climate change is real and is an issue. But Don't Look Up, not a very good movie, nonetheless.
I'm not sure who's going to be misinterpreting our Don't Look
Well,
Up.
there's some people who say if you don't look up, you probably just don't think climate change is real or whatever,
Sure,
which is
that's a
not
good
the
point.
case. It's a gross conflation to make, I feel.
Yeah. All right. Next up. Oh,
Yeah,
unless
sure.
you got more
Um,
original score thoughts.
Hans Zimmer did Dune, so there you go. How about that, huh?
Yeah. I
It
mean,
sounds pretty good. And they have the thing that goes har har te potito or whatever.
it's
You know.
certainly true. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Next up, nominees for adapted screenplay. We've got Coda,
Ooh.
Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and The Power of the Dog.
Yeah,
This is a
all
great
very.
category.
I agree. All very, very well written films. I wasn't aware. It's always fun. It's always interesting to see this category because they're like that was based on something. What is that? What is this? What is this adapted from? And there's quite a few in
Sure.
there for me.
Oh, I guess I
Uh,
kind of assumed The Power of the Dog was an original story
yeah,
by
so did
Dan
I.
Campion.
Coda, same
But
thing with
also,
Coda.
not
Yeah,
gonna lie, having seen Power of the Dog, makes sense that that was based on a novel more than likely.
yeah,
Like that feels like a novel story
yeah,
now that I'm thinking about it. Um, but The Lost Daughter is an interesting surprise here.
yeah.
It's again one that I haven't seen, but it is a different kind of film. It's not one of the
Hmm.
top 10, top 12. But really for me, it's the fact that Drive My Car got into
Yeah,
adapted
I agree.
screenplay. That is a big honko monko deal. I'm very happy
Hmm.
with that.
Hmm. Yeah, no other real notes there. Since you've leashed me and I'm not allowed to say what I think will win or what probably will win,
We
but
gotta
we'll get
hold
to
their
that.
balls, Tanner.
I suppose,
Hold their
but I
balls
don't.
for 6 weeks.
I don't think we should say that about our viewers. So let's continue.
And they can take it. Next up, we've got the nominees for original screenplay. The nominees
Mmm.
are Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard,
Richard.
Licorice Pizza, and The Worst Person in the World.
Yeah.
I'm really
No,
enunciating.
no, I have a notable snub here and a
Yeah.
notable surprise here.
Uh-huh.
I'll start up on the high note with The Worst Person in the World. Haven't
Mhm.
seen it, but am very excited to.
All I've
Um,
heard about that film is that it's got a great script.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree, and very good to see some foreign films reflected in other categories besides like Best Director and Best Picture, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
And I think this is spelling out a good a good future path for the Oscars. You know,
Sure.
diversifying what kind of movies they nominate a little bit.
Yeah,
You know, they're
especially in
branching
these
out.
quote these aren't the screenplay ones are kind of they're in the big eight or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
But this is not. You're right. It's not, especially obviously best foreign film or
yeah,
documentary or even director of picture, which are kind of more common for foreign films to get
yeah,
into, but not really. Like we've really only had a handful of foreign films get into best picture. But the fact that we are getting even 1 out of 5 in quite a few of these categories is a good sign. It is a starting place. Obviously, the Oscars are very America centric, they're very Eurocentric.
mhm,
Uh, but with their fucking gigabrain diversity plan that's coming up in 2 years or whatever, hopefully this signals an interesting direction for them.
yeah. And I did want to say the notable snub here in this category is Aaron Sorkin,
Oh,
a
that's
writer
true.
that the Academy typically loves, did not get in for being the Ricardos
Yeah,
here. I think it's the first time a written work of his has not gotten in since 2015 with Steve
Steve Jobs.
Jobs.
Yep. Yeah, that was the
So yeah,
last time. But otherwise, I'm happy with this. King Richard is an interesting one because obviously it's a story based off a guy that's kind of important because he was a dad to people who were important. But I don't really see the screenplay as the strong aspect here.
no.
I,
The
I
other
would
strong
have
aspects are performances, one of which we've talked about and one of which we'll get to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. All
Next
right.
up, we've got the nominees for. Oh, actually, we can't talk about the shorts,
We
frankly.
have not seen the shorts at any of them. Thankfully, we have a very gracious little indie theater, I guess here that you would call it, that does a little that showcases all the shorts for us, and then so once we see all those, and we'll probably do a final prediction
Mm-hmm.
video before the Oscars take place. We'll have our opinions on those.
Yeah.
Worry ye not, dear viewer.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to go through them, then I was like, "What the fuck am I going to say here?" I don't know
Exactly.
what the snubs are. I've never heard of any of these, so
Hmm.
and that's usually how it goes. I mean, I'm not a shorts guy on the whole,
Yeah.
so. But after that comes actor in a supporting role, and this is a very interesting category. We have Ciarán Hinds from
Yeah.
Belfast, Troy Kotzer in Coda, Jesse
Woot
Plemons
woot.
in The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons in Being the Ricardos, and Cody Smith McPhee in The Power of the Dog.
Yes. No, there's also some snubs here. Ben Affleck was getting a look in from a few other awards outlets for his role in The Tender Bar.
Yeah, a movie
Uh,
that came out of nowhere as and I've not seen it, but considering how it's been released and discussed, the most obvious Oscar bait, like sliding in under the door, like, "Hey, we got a drama for you with a famous actor. Put this in
yeah,
some of your award shows," and then like one or two of them, like, "Okay, we'll give you a little treat because you played nice." But no, yeah, of course,
yeah,
Tender Bar not here. No one gives a fuck
and
about that movie.
also someone who a lot of people were saying was going to get a look in for this. No Bradley Cooper in Licorice Pizza,
Hmm.
which I'm okay with. I've seen that movie. He's fun in it, but he doesn't have a lot of material to work with in award circuits. You know, I
Hmm.
say that in the same breath I say that the Academy should recognize more comedies, but I can believe both things to be true. Sue me, okay?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I really like this category, except for one standout that took one of those two folks' places. Tuck,
Yeah,
would you like to rattle him off a second?
I'll rattle off J.K. Simmons in Being the Ricardos, who was not only just playing J.K. Simmons, like no spin on his personality, no spin.
No.
Like you've seen him in this role
He's a
before.
gruff, hard drinking old man.
Yeah, which obviously just means he's being typecast and he's good at the role, but not nomination worthy and nothing stand out. I mean, that kind of applies to most of the things about that movie as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got House of Gucci, Being the Ricardos, and Don't Look Up here that are just like, come on, guys. Yeah, I know it's
Yeah.
based on real people or has a political message, but calm the fuck down. You don't need to
Yeah.
nominate J.K. Simmons. But what he really seems to be replacing for me is not Bradley Cooper, but is Jamie Dornan in
Oh
Belfast.
yeah. We gave him a
Uh,
little shout out
yeah,
earlier too.
who honestly everyone was expecting to get in, and he is very good.
Hmm.
Uh, he's better than J.K. Simmons, more memorable than J.K. Simmons. So I wish
I'd
that he had been nominated.
I'd like to give a special little shout out to Troy Kotzer,
Mm.
from Coda, who liked one
Friend
of
of the
my
show.
friend of the show who liked one of my tweets about a month and a half ago. Hey buddy, how you doing? Hope you're having a grand old time, and hope you win that award.
Hey, good work, Joe. I haven't even seen you yet, but
Yeah.
good on you. Next up, we've got the Film Editing Award.
Sure.
Why does this
Yes.
make you? Why does this make you harm?
Well,
Let me say the nominees are Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, The Power of the Dog, and Tick Tick Boom. Now,
this makes me herm, Tucker, because
yeah, it makes me harm a little bit too, actually.
um, if we look at a lot of these, Don't Look Up has some very in your face. I didn't really appreciate it sort of editing. It's very poppy, and the Oscars for the maybe like the fifth, 10th, millionth year in a row are like, Best editing is just a movie that has a lot of editing.
Hmm.
I feel.
Yeah.
The same can be said of
Ford v
Dune.
Ferrari, Bohemian
Yeah,
Rhapsody is like, it's like,
yeah.
mm,
The same can be said of Dune, although I think there is a plot, a purpose for that. It deals with a lot of psychic abilities and stuff like that.
yeah.
So,
It's also
for
an action film.
true, very true, very true.
So I actually think that that's one of the solid nominees here.
Yeah,
One
me too.
that at first glance kind of rubs me the wrong way is King Richard, because I don't
Yeah,
necessarily immediately think to the editing as an aspect of that film that is particularly high quality. However, what I have heard, and this kind of does make sense, is there is a very good emphasis on editing within the tennis sequences
yeah. I
in
was
the
just gonna
film,
say. Yeah.
and that's probably where this nomination is coming from. But I don't think those are strong enough to pull it to the top. There's no fucking way King Richard wins for editing.
No, no, I don't think so.
The Power of
I
the
would.
Dog, totally serviceable editing.
Yeah,
Didn't really
good editing.
like.
I'd say.
I don't know if I would again think to the editing as something I liked about it. But
Hmm.
then Tick Tick Boom, of course, I haven't seen it. You can speak a little more towards this, but I mean, just knowing how I like editing to be and how musicals use editing, this is where my mind goes to for a winner. But I think that's unlikely.
Um, I'd say that just off the top of my head, the musical number Therapy is edited very, very well. I enjoy the editing, cutting back between sort of a stage performance for the number and a argument between two characters that's going on simultaneously. I think it's a very, very well edited sequence, personally.
Yeah.
But Tucker, I think we can move on.
We can move on to nominees for makeup and hairstyling. The
Hmm.
nominees are Coming to America.
Hey, shout out!
Shout
You
out
bet.
to fucking Coming
Yeah,
to America.
bet you forgot about this one, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny. It's a meme. The movie's not very good.
Yeah,
It obviously came out a while ago. It didn't have any critical acclaim, but it does have very good makeup, hairstyling, and costuming. Like, I'm
sure.
not upset with this nomination. It's really funny. We get one or two of these a year where a
We get
below the line
we get
category has a what
we
the
get
fuck.
we get a Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
Speaking of though, well, you can read off the rest of the nominees, but go ahead.
The other nominees are Cruella,
Mhm.
Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. All of
Yeah,
which make a lot of sense.
I would say that 2021's James Gunn Suicide Squad is a
The
snub
Suicide Squad.
here. The Suicide Squad, excuse me, is a snub here, or in costume design. I think more probably in makeup and
Makeup,
hairstyling
yeah.
though. Yeah, I'd say that's a snub here, and
I mean,
also for the funny joke of Suicide Squad in and the Suicide Squad didn't. So
yeah,
eh.
yeah. Uh, the three makeup things that stick out to me in my mind from this year are Cruella, are The Eyes of Tammy Faye,
Yeah,
and
Jared
fucking
Leto.
Polka Dot Man,
Oh,
in
sure.
fucking
Yeah,
Suicide Squad,
yeah,
and in fucking Paolo.
yeah,
And I'm not. This is going to be one category where I do not crap on House of Gucci being nominated. I mean, Paolo's a really obnoxious, stupid character with a terrible performance,
yeah.
but the makeup looks good,
Yeah,
and Jared Leto looks nothing like Paolo. It's literally just his eyes and like his teeth that you
yeah,
can
yeah,
tell it's Jared Leto. And you know what?
yeah.
Good for you, Goran Understrom, Anna Karen Locke, and Frederick Aspiris, the makeup artists for that fucking movie.
Yeah. Still not a lot to say about this one either. They sure painted those guys like pale eggshell white in Dune, didn't they?
They definitely did. They definitely did. And they also made
Yeah.
their eyes blue.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's neat.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we rewatched it, I'll have to think more about the makeup. It didn't blow me away, but it is different, which
Yeah, and the costumes. Yeah,
I respect.
yeah.
Next up, we've got the nominees for animated feature film, and if this isn't the most stock standard obvious category
Yep.
that the
If
world
there
could
was
possibly have,
if there was one category that was locked in from the very beginning, it was this one, Tucker.
yes. And
What are the 5 high-profile?
do you have it pulled up?
Well, I do have it pulled up.
I was gonna see if you could name off the top of your head because it's
Okay.
obvious.
Well, I don't. I'm not looking at it right now, so I can do it right here. You have your Disney's. You have your Raya and the Last Dragon. You have that's just Disney animation, right? That's not Pixar.
No, it's not Pixar.
Okay. You have your Encanto, which is just Walt Disney Animation. You have your Pixar in with Luca. You
Hmm.
have your artsy film with Flea, and you have your third-party animation studio, as in Sony Animation, with The Mitchells versus the Machines.
Yeah,
I
and
would
there's
say
no
also,
complaints here.
no, no, very solid category across the board. I enjoyed all of these films.
Hmm.
Ride and the Last Dragon being the bottom of the pile for me, and a different movie being the bottom of the pile for Tucker.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Mitchells versus the Machines, but I also don't. I also recognize that I'm vastly the majority for that, and it is a very high quality animated film.
Yeah.
Uh, and the interesting thing about this is we come out fucking bat swinging with, if this isn't the most stock standard obvious category ever, but frankly, I'm happy with that because it means we got five high profile, well done
Yeah.
animated films, which frankly, if you look back to Oscars past, doesn't usually happen. We
No.
get some weird,
Fifth. Yeah,
sneaky, crappy animated film that
we get
squeezes its way in
some.
there.
We get some Shaun the Sheep Farmageddons in there. We get
Yeah.
some. I don't know what else. What else
Early
has been
Man.
Early Man
That
or
was that was nominated, right? Am
probably
I
one of the
dense?
probably one of the Despicable Me's probably got in there at some point or Minions or something.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm happy with all of
Me
these
too.
to a certain
Very very
extent.
happy.
And
Very
I'm very
happy with
excited to
this
see
category.
Flea.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Uh Next up, here's the joke of the year.
Yeah.
Tanner and I have decided that we're going to become really big into nominations for original song this
This
year.
is the one that we will murder each other over. I feel we're each gonna pick a different one, and we're gonna kill
Fight to
each
the
other
death.
on
Yeah.
stream over it. Yeah.
The nominees for original song are "Be Alive" from King Richard, "Dos Oru." Oh shit! I should have practiced this. Oruguitas
No, I
from
think it's just Dos Oreguitas.
Origuita. That makes sense. I'm a
Yeah.
dumb American. From Encanto, "Down to Joy" from Belfast, "No Time to Die" from No Time to Die. Believe it or fucking not. And "Somehow You Do" from Four Good Days. Now, this is funny because the only ones of these I would probably even recognize are No Time to Die and the one from Encanto
Yep.
because they play a major role in the film.
I've
And
always
also, whatever Somehow You Do from Four Good Days is probably the most obscure nomination of the night.
I looked up that movie. It has Mila Kunis and Glenn Close.
Yeah,
So how about that? I've always thought it was a cruel trick that you can just get into this category by just sticking a song on the end credits. You know,
I
I feel
agree.
like that. I feel like it should probably have to be implemented in the film somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think the two best and the two front runners for this category are that Encanto and No
No
Time to
Time to
Die.
Die. I agree. And if we're gonna see a No Time to Die win here, we're gonna get Billie Eilish Oscar
Oscar
Billie
winner
Eilish.
Billie Eilish. Let's go.
Yeah. We got documentary short subject. As we said, we'll be talking about that later
Mm-hmm.
on. But then it takes us to nominees for documentary feature.
Sure. No,
Uh,
this is the holiest category for me. As in, I've seen the least of these.
oh,
Yeah,
sure, it has the most holes.
exactly.
Yeah.
What else did you? What did you think I meant, Tucker?
The nominees are Ascension, Attica, Flea, Summer of Soul, and Writing with Fire. Now,
Yes.
interestingly enough, I've actually only heard of two of these, which doesn't really mean anything. Frankly, documentaries are not well marketed. Uh, and I only heard of Flea because it's an animated documentary, and people
Mm-hmm.
talked about that like that's an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I don't have anything to say here.
Um, I think Summer of Soul was an interesting one. It came out over the summer. Directed by Questlove, who did the music for last year's Oscars ceremony. So if you're looking for a little nepotism there, I think that's your win. But there was a lot of movies there was a lot of docs in contention for this. The Rescue is a notable
Mm,
snub here,
yeah.
as well as some other ones like In the Same Breath, which is a COVID documentary
Hmm.
about how it started in the early days in China and spread around the world.
Hmm.
There was also
Maybe they just
Procession.
don't want to bring the mood down for that,
Yeah.
frankly.
Procession was another one here that sounded very interesting. It has to do with some child abuse in the Catholic Church and how the victims of it made 6 short films that make up the documentary. But not the ones that we got don't sound interesting. Ascension and Attica both sound, but fairly interesting. I've seen Flea and Summer of Soul, both very good. Riding with Fire was here at our local indie theater. I skipped out on it because I'm like, oh, what are the odds it gets nominated? There's so many other more high profile documentaries in contention for this awards.
And do you see him? Look at him. He's eating his words right now.
I'm eating my words. I'm eating my words. Riding with Fire. I will have to see it before the ceremony.
Yeah, and next up, we've got the Marvel category in nominees for visual effects, in which we've got Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Spider-Man: No Way Home. Now, this is an interesting category because another one where I've seen all of them, because obviously these are all very high profile. There's really only one contender here. I think there's like 1.5 contenders here. Yeah. And there are some interesting snubs here as well.
Yeah. Tucker, what are some snubs that you think of that were cut from this?
Now, I haven't seen it, but the Matrix Resurrections and Ghostbusters Afterlife were both nominated in VFX in lots of other award shows. This that haven't happened yet, but they're currently nominated. And this is the first nomination of the award season that Spider-Man has got. Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah. They did a pretty solidly big campaign for it. Probably the second biggest campaign they've done behind Black Panther. Yeah. But Free Guy pisses me off because that movie sucks and the visual effects are just serviceable but kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, I agree.
And Shang-Chi is kind of disappointing because frankly the visual effects in that movie are just okay.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that they didn't put like Eternals in here from Chloe Zhao, last year's Best Director and Best Picture winner,
and also better visual effects than Shang-Chi probably.
Yeah,
and maybe better than it. I enjoyed them more than fucking.
Let me tell you, Free Guy is a weird one to drop in here. I'll tell you that much. But yeah,
a lot of money pumped into it.
Yeah, this is effectively the blockbuster category. So
because they don't do most popular film or whatever they were gonna.
No, they were gonna do that. And if you think that's a good idea, let us know down in the comments. There's an interesting little possibility they threw out a couple years ago. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe it'll come back at some point.
We got a couple more to close out before the biggins. Nominees for Best Cinematography include Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story.
Yes.
Very solid category. No
I
complaints
agree.
Here.
The Tragedy of Macbeth, under-nominated, I feel.
Underperformed today, yeah.
Underperformed today quite a bit. Denzel got in for performance, but I think... Oh, sorry. But I think that's about it, right? It just got these two? It didn't... Did it get production design? Oh, sorry. So no,
Stop looking ahead.
It did. It's sorry, but it did. I actually remember that. I definitely didn't look ahead. I definitely didn't scroll up slightly to see if it got that. But yeah, underperformed. I think some other ones people said that they wished were in here were The Green Knight. But A24 can't seem to run a decent Oscars race except for Moonlight.
And technically, The Tragedy of Macbeth. That is an A24 movie, and it did get nominations, but it didn't get that many. It certainly did underperform.
Yeah, I feel like they could have run a stronger campaign when your movie's directed by a Coen brother and starring Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand. You probably could have shown out better, I feel. Yeah. And missing in this one and missing in a couple others is and the one that we'll get to next, The French Dispatch.
True. Yeah. Of course, more prominently missing from the next one, but So I'm happy. I think this is a perfectly solid category. Like,
I agree.
No complaints. I'm happy. Well, all these are great looking movies. This also, I'd say, one of the most competitive categories because it is very on the bar of, actually, all of these have some elements where you can see this winning because they all have very distinct styles. We're not getting a King Richard in cinematography where we're like, okay, that doesn't fucking count. No, these are all big hitters, and that's exciting. I'm interested to see who wins.
Me too.
I'll be happy with anything, which is nice. The fucking Oscars, you always got either one. You've got a horse in the race where you're like, please, for the love of God, don't let this lose. Or you've got one or two in there. It's like, please don't let this win. It's kind of nice to have a flat board, happy with anything.
Yeah, I agree.
And another one of those coming up with production design nominees being Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Now, of course, I'm sorry, viewers. Tanner spoiled that The Tragedy of Macbeth was nominated for production
I'm
design.
sorry.
I
I'm
will
sorry.
probably never forgive him for it, and he will always regret it deeply.
Yeah.
But another one where I actually think this and cinematography and production design are very on the board. I think
Yeah.
the bigger one here for me is the fact that the French Dispatch didn't get in because apparently the Academy just doesn't like Wes Anderson except for when they do.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if they liked him more, they would put him in more categories than like just the technical ones. If you can believe it, I know, shocking to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think French Dispatch is probably the most notable miss here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But if it's not that big a deal because everything else here does have very good production design.
I
Like
agree. I agree.
I think it's just we had so many movies this year with very good production design that
Hmm.
one had to get cut. Frankly, I mean I haven't seen Tragedy of Macbeth. I
Yeah.
assume it has great production design. Um, I guess I would have rather French Dispatch than that, just in terms of unique aesthetic.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Another one that missed out that was present at the awards quite a bit was Licorice Pizza.
Oh,
Once
it's a
upon a time
great
in
point.
yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was in this category and even won that year, maybe.
Question mark.
Yeah, but the Academy usually loves when you can completely reconstruct Hollywood in the
Yeah,
1960s or the
Mank.
1970s or what have you. Mank, exactly. But did not give Licorice Pizza any love in this category.
Yeah. So hold on, I'm picking up.
You
What
gonna
am I
see it?
doing? I'm going to
You're fact checking
IMDb
me?
for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just checking.
Okay, he's fact checking me, ladies and gentlemen.
Fans check.
Drum roll, please.
What the
Quentin
directing
Tarantino
motion
directed
picture?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quite a few close-ups of feet
Oh
in
yeah, I
that
won
film.
production design.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
I was
the
feeling for
IMDb thing
time.
is really weird. It's it's presented very strangely. It
Sure.
goes Oscar parentheses winner, and then it has the category in tiny text below it. And
Yeah.
I would much rather that be
Be different.
reversed.
Yeah.
Whatever. Fucking I don't care.
But yeah, if we just go back and say very good across the board category here. Very strong.
Next up, before last one before the big ones,
Hmm.
comes international feature film. We've got
Yes.
Drive My Car, Flea, The Hand of God, Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom, and The
Hmm.
Worst Person in the World. Not a category that is surprising for the most part, except for the fact that I've never heard of Lunana until this morning when Leslie Jordan said the name and messed it up.
Yep.
And I have heard that people would rather have had a hero in this category.
Yep.
But I haven't
Or
seen almost any of these.
I lied. This is tied for holiest category for documentary with me. I've seen Drive My Car and I've seen Flee, and
Yeah.
that's about it. Or that is it, I guess. Yeah, like you said, Tucker, a hero notably missing from this, a big favorite for this category for this year, as well as, and I don't even know if this is on the short list for this year, but Titan, Palme d'Or winner,
Yeah.
Titan, gone from the just not
I was
present
gonna
at the
make a
Oscars
joke
at
and say
all.
little indie film, but yeah, it kind of is actually.
Yeah, it actually is. It's too intense for the Oscars
Yeah.
voters, I guess. They're too intense for their sensibilities.
Mm.
Sorry, Julia Decarno is just too cool and rad for you guys. But good
Uh,
category. I haven't
yeah,
seen Lunatic Yak in the Classroom. That seems like a big surprise for this category.
it definitely
Uh,
does.
and I think based on the big picture as they called it today at the announcement ceremony, I think we know who the runaway winner with this one is.
Truly, unless there's some sort of upset here,
True.
because it's not like the worst person in the world is not, excuse me, not a competitor. It does
Yeah.
have the same level of nominations, except for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Because they're both in
Because it got in
screenplay.
for
Drive My Car
screenplay.
and screenplay. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So there is a race there,
Yeah.
but one
But
that clearly has a boost.
if we look back at the year of the Parasite, I think it's sort of clear what's going to happen here.
And Roma.
No, it didn't win Best Picture, Tucker.
No, I
Unfortunately.
know Roma didn't win Best Picture, but it was nominated for Best Picture,
Oh,
and
that's
therefore
true.
basically automatically won.
Good point. Good point, Tucker. Fantastic point there.
And now here we go. The nominees for actor in a leading role are Javier Bardem, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew Garfield, Will Smith, and Denzel Washington.
Tucker, do you have a least favorite here? Is that what that meant to
Well,
imply?
I have a least favorite in terms of surprise. I don't really care that much that Javier Bardem was nominated. I think he's totally solid in being the Ricardos. Again, I think the script and editing and story of that movie is what drags it down, not necessarily any of the core three performances.
Mm-hmm.
But he's certainly the least standout here, and he was certainly the least predicted to be nominated.
Yeah. Being the Ricardos really skyrocketed after the SAG nominations came out, and I think that's where Javier Bardem really comes in and can thank his lucky stars that he got in here. But yeah, all these other ones were very very obvious from the beginning, from the outset. And I think there's a certain prince, a fresh prince, who is who it's his year to lose it.
Yeah, there's no questions there.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got actress in a leading role with Jessica Chastain in Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Coleman in The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz in Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman in Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart in Spencer.
Just sliding in under the door there for Kristen Stewart. It was real close. I personally really enjoyed Kristen Stewart's performance in Spencer. I was really hoping she would get in, but she got snub after snub in other awards categories.
Spencer got snub after snub in every category.
Very true. This is the only place where it's present, justifiably so, because I think she is the highlight of the film. Though a lot of the other things are fantastic about it.
Oh my god, the costumes and the cinematography and the music and the
design. Just everything that Tucker said there. Just go back and fill in a blank for snubs in those categories. But otherwise, I think this one was pretty built. Except Tucker.
No, it's not. Here's the thing. I think this is the most interesting category of the night. Yeah. Frankly, because it is very across the board. Okay, I can see a element of each person being able to win this, and also Lady Gaga did not get nominated.
Yeah.
After being nominated for, I believe, literally every other leading actress role in this award season.
Yeah.
No, not present at all.
Yeah.
Which is fine for her. She'll get some wins in other places, and this is not gonna kill her career. But the fact is that we got a snub for Gaga, and we got Penelope Cruz and Kristen Stewart, both surprises in this, which is what makes this of course, I'm very happy with this. Both of them are a lot better than Lady Gaga, in my opinion. And I also, those are my two horses in the race, personally.
Sure. Yeah, but yeah, Tucker, I think you bring up a good point that everyone here has a road to that award. You have Jessica Chastain, who's very obviously a very probably an A-lister, definitely an A-lister in Hollywood right now, and they probably love to give her an award.
She's got fucking Freckle Films or whatever, her own studio making shit like the 355.
Olivia Coleman and Nicole Kidman, obviously favorites of the Academy. They've been nominated and they've won at least once, a number of times for both of them. You have Penelope Cruz, who the Academy loves when, somebody who's been sort of on the down and out in their career for a while comes back with a performance like Penelope Cruz has in Parallel Mothers, something foreign, something critically acclaimed. So I think she has a road to it, and obviously Kristen Stewart kind of in that same ballpark. She was Twilight for a while, then she did some indie stuff for a while, and now she's back in a big way in the awards circuit with Spencer. Wow. And I think she definitely has a narrative, after getting snub after snub and winning the Oscar.
Don't get my fucking hopes up.
It's an underdog story. It's an underdog story. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Notoriously being a member of the royal family.
Underdog story
counts as being an underdog. But the interesting thing about this category and why I think it's the most interesting of the night is not only did we get a major snub and two pretty big surprises, I would say almost three pretty big surprises. Olivia Coleman in The Lost Daughter is not as big of a surprise, but definitely interesting. But also because this category has a lot of trickle down, not huge snubs, but I thought that could be nominated. Alana Haim in Licorice Pizza.
Yeah. Other ones too.
The Worst Person in the World. I don't know the actress name. But also Jennifer Hudson as Rachel Flanker.
Oh yeah.
That was the one thing that we said when we walked out of the movie. It's like, well, at least you'll get an Oscar nomination for this, and
not the case.
Yeah.
Maybe don't put your movie out in August. You know.
If you wanted to be in the Oscars conversation, she would absolutely be nominated if that movie had come out in December.
Yeah.
It would have
If
come out,
it.
people would have been like, that's okay, but hey, we've got to refresh in our minds for the Oscars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
It
instead,
didn't.
she got like two
That movie.
nominations over the course of the entire award season.
That movie already had a sheer drop off as soon as it released. So yeah, releasing it closer to award season would have been beneficial for Jennifer Hudson. But
Yeah.
she's young. She's got some time, and she's a very good performer. So I'm sure she'll have her day, and she has already, right? She's an Oscar winner for supporting actress at the very least.
I can't remember for what, but that does.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna look it up.
Don't pull up IMDb because it's gonna kill your
Okay.
eyeballs.
Jennifer Hudson, Oscar.
Oscars.
Oscar. She won Best Supporting Actress in 2007
Four.
for the film Dreamgirls. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good for her. Good for her.
Google is not very conducive to me discovering this.
Google
for sure,
did
but
a weird thing about when you look up blank Oscars, it removed if you won or lost the
Mhm.
categories, and it just tells you if it was nominated for something, and it really annoys me.
Yeah.
But we're coming down
Yes, it's
to the
Dreamgirls.
last nonsense of the night.
Yes.
Nominees for Best Directing: Kenneth Branagh for Belfast,
Mm.
Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion for Power of the Dog, and Steven Spielberg for West Side Story.
All
A fascinating bunch.
Yeah.
Another solid bunch.
I feel like we should up the top here. We should acknowledge the snub here being Denis Villeneuve
100%.
for Dune. Our friend of the show Joe Wright brought up a great
Friend of
point.
the show,
That
Denis
was
Villeneuve.
friend of the show Denis Villeneuve. We're sorry. Friend of the show Joe Wright brought up a great point when he said, you know, how can it really be nominated for basically every technical category and not direction? Which is
you know what? Here's why. Or here's how. It did. It was. I don't know what to fucking tell you.
Okay.
The Oscars weird. Frankly, I think they were like, you know, we need to take a loss from this big five to represent Drive My Car in Best Director. Which, by the way, I for somehow forgot about. That's another way that it puts a leg up above the worst person in the world. But I think it's a worthy loss, not because I don't think Doom was not well directed. Obviously, very ambitious, very well crafted, very tightly done, very extravagant. But I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a giant Dune fan, so it's not a huge loss to me. But I think they kind of just like cut their losses, and they were like, "Hey, someone's gonna kick it." And Dune is nominated. This is how I think. I'm in the minds of the fucking Academy. They're like, Dune is nominated for so much crap, and it's gonna win so many of those. If he's not in for, who's gonna notice? Who's gonna notice if he's not in directing? You know?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people noticed.
Everyone,
Academy.
everyone.
Everyone noticed. But again, very strong.
I had myself a little cheer this morning when I noticed that Dune was nominated.
You
for
did.
Best Director.
You are preying on Denis Villeneuve's downfall, Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He and I are close. It's okay.
And frankly, I'll fight you for it. I'm gonna kill you before you kill me for whatever you said you were gonna kill me for. Tucker, read those Best Picture nominees.
The nominees for Best Picture are Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story.
God, it feels good to have a full 10 nominees. You know, the Academy. Before we get into any of those nominations, great call by filling out a 10 nominee. You know, by mandating a 10 nominee roster.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is, this feels so full and rich and representative of the best films of the year, that it actually kind of makes a lot of other categories feel sparse. Like, oh, come on, just make every other one 6, and you can include Lady Gaga in there. You can put French Dispatch and Production Design. You've got Best Picture at 10. Just inch up everything else. And frankly, I would not be surprised if we see 6 nominees in future years for other categories. Because frankly, going through this entire thing, it's just like, this is good. Oh, but we've got a snub. And of course, that happens every year.
Yeah.
But they can avoid it.
Yeah. Just put no cap on the number of nominees for every category. If it's good, put it nominees. In. If it's good, 40. Put it in. That's what I say.
For a guy from Best Picture.
Every movie that came out in 2023 will be nominated for Best Picture. Mark my words.
Mark
my
his
words.
words.
We should actually talk about this. Best Picture, like Tucker said, very strong, very rich category.
Yeah.
I'm happy personally that Being the Ricardos didn't get in because I felt like that was a real dead weight on the category. We have some dead weight there still with a movie that I said we don't personally like, Don't Look Up, but I've resigned myself to that movie coming out, and that way we can shit on it in Quest for the Bestest.
Yeah.
I have made my peace with it. But otherwise, very strong.
But otherwise, very strong. Yeah, I mean, for the vast majority, exactly what we expected. The bottom rung of the 10 was in contention, obviously, for the last month or so. People saying Tick Tick Boom, Tragedy of Macbeth. Like, there were some questions going on here, and frankly, those would have made a lot of sense being seen here. But the fact that we got not only Drive My Car, which was a huge surprise for us, both very big fans of that film, and the only foreign film in Best Picture this year, but Nightmare Alley coming out of nowhere, probably the biggest surprise of the night, or the fucking morning, because it was 7:18 a.m. when we were seeing this. The fact that Nightmare Alley comes out, receives decent to middling critical acclaim, does poorly at the box office, does decent to okay to with the audiences. Guillermo del Toro not nominated for Best Director, gets a couple below the line categories, and just fucking bat swinging comes into Best Picture is insane. Is very wild.
It is crazy. It is crazy. And I think if there's one thing that or in my opinion, King Richard was always like at a number 7 slot or something for this category. Personally, I would have swapped that out with Tick Tick Boom.
I know you would.
But what are you gonna do? My hands are tied. My hands are tied, Academy, and you're lucky because if they weren't, I would take my hands and I would not do anything that could get me a cease and desist order.
Anything that could get us demonetized.
Exactly, precisely, my dear lad.
Yeah, but I'm very happy with this. I think the fact is that I'm so used to having a sloth of just like nonsense Manx and Vices and Ford v Ferraris where I'm like, I don't give a piss about this. But like, I actually give a piss about every one of these films to a certain degree. I give a piss about Don't Look Up because it sucks absolute shit and it's gonna be fun to crap on, and there's no way it wins Best Picture. Even though I'm not a fan of it, I give a piss about Dune because it is very different for a Best Picture nominee. But every other film here, I like / haven't seen to a certain degree. So I'm actually very happy with this set of 10, and it makes me excited going into the future with a confirmed 10 every year that we get a satisfying Best Picture run. Like it's just so nice and fulfilling.
Yeah. The only downside is if we get a bad year at some point in the future and it's just chock full of whatevers, chock full of Manx and Ford v Ferraris, maybe.
That's true.
Yeah, but hey, you gotta look on the bright side sometimes. Like the year 2021, a great year for the Oscars. So many good movies that some of the great ones got snubbed, unfortunately. But
that's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, those movies are still great regardless if they have a little golden man in their hands or not.
Yep.
And Tucker, like
the idea of a little golden man, as 85% of these films will get.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably exactly. But Tucker, like you said, we're going to be doing a lot of Oscars coverage, Best Picture nominee reviews across the board until the ceremony, Best Picture and Oscars final predictions, what's going to win.
Oh, yeah.
And a post-Oscars wrap-up. And, it's very exciting. It's Oscar season, and frankly, I couldn't be happier.
You smell that?
What do I smell? Oh, burnt toast. I'm having a heart attack. Oh, God.
No.
What's going on?
It's the smell of the seasons changing.
Oh,
no longer spring. It's Oscars season, baby.
Oh,
baby.
Little tiny season in the middle there.
Yep.
I'm also smelling burnt toast because I'm having a heart attack.
Oh, let's get that checked.